How's it going, guys? Devin here from Cruise Speed. I just want to take you along on the journey of my 240 from right after I bought it until how it sits today. So let's get started. So I picked up the car in summer of 2009. It was pretty much stock at the time. The guy I bought it from did have a Megan Racing catback exhaust on it, and it had like a head unit and a short shifter, but that was about it. He also had these silver wheels on it, but I ditched those and picked up these Montegi Racing wheels. Swapping the wheels over, I did notice that the shocks were blowing, so I picked up this set of Megan track coilovers. They're a little stiff. I ended up swapping them out for a set of Megan Streets. Going forward, I think I'm going to get a little bit better track setup, maybe some BC Racing coilovers or stance suspension or something like that. I'm not 100% sure yet. You can see here a couple pictures. Had her all washed up before a track day. Me and a buddy went out to US Air up in Shawano for an autocross. I believe this was like in fall of 2010 at this time. Those events are always a lot of fun. The guys up there like Tom and Andy and Shane, they have a ton of experience and give you great pointers. Definitely looking forward to getting back out there and shredding some tires. It's been far too long. So up next here we got some of the build I did on the single cam. It just pretty much reached its limits, so I ended up doing a head gasket, head studs, SI valves. I had cross-referenced the valve springs. What else? Let's see. I threw sway bars at it, end links. Some of tearing the stock engine apart. I ended up doing like a mild porting job on the head just to clean up some of the casting marks. During that time, I also swapped out the inner and outer tie rods, got the build all back together, and then it all went downhill. I ended up snapping the end of the cam off, and it wiped out my entire engine, bent all the valves, and smashed up all the pistons and stuff. So ended up buying an RB and starting that whole process. I bought it from a place out of Canada. It shipped to Green Bay, Wisconsin. I took my buddy's Ranger up there to pick it up and ended up doing the swap. Here's a little clip of it running back then. After that, I ended up picking up some seats, harnesses, and a couple other maintenance things, and we took it up to a track event at Wisconsin International Raceway up in Appleton. After that, I decided to go back to school, and the car went back into storage for a few years. I wasn't really sure what to do with the car. I was back and forth on if I wanted to sell it or not. I'm glad my buddies just talked me into keeping it. They're like, just push it in the corner and you can enjoy it later on. Well, it turned out spring of 2018 was that time. I ended up picking up these wheels. Got the Garrett GTX3076R Turbo Gen 2, the CX Racing Turbo Kit for the RB25. I also picked up a new intake manifold. I got a fuel cell. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it or not yet. It's only 8 gallons, I believe. I got the Haltech Elite 2000 with a new wiring harness from Wiring Specialties. Here's a couple pictures of us ceramic coating both the header, the downpipe, and the turbine housing of the turbo. So from there, I guess the original plan was the clutch was slipping, so I was just going to do a clutch and swap over the new turbo and intake manifold and stuff. But I guess the farther we got into it, the more I thought. I was like, well, I have everything out, so I might as well like clean up the engine bay more, fix the like terrible cut job I did on like the first time when I cut out the holes for the intercooler piping. I was in such a rush just to get it done and wanted to drive the car so bad. I didn't really think ahead as far as like looks and stuff in the engine bay and aesthetics on how the intercooler pipes were routed and things like that. So I figured this would be the best time to fix it. I also ended up getting a multi-layer steel head gasket, so I disassembled the head and sent that out to the machine shop. So from there, we were just cleaning up the engine bay. I can't remember what I was doing, but I was walking through Fleet Farm and seen the good old trailer fender there, and I know I've seen it before where people had cut them in half and tubbed out the front end. So I guess to fix what I had done previously, I thought, well, we might as well go ahead and do it. So we cut out the front end, found a little bit more rust. Kevin actually helped out a ton on this build, doing a bunch of the welding and metal fabrication, cleaning up and patching those spots. I'd also noticed before that there were some brackets that held the front bumper on that the spot welds had broken, so we ended up welding those back on and making a little support bracket from the hold. After that, it was just a lot of cutting and grinding. We ended up using like a thicker cardboard to make templates for everything, cutting that all out and then transferring it onto the metal and then cutting out the metal. Shout out to Milwaukee, and we beat the hell out of those tools and they just kept on going. So once we had all the templates cut and everything the way we wanted it, we ended up taking everything back off and sanding the entire engine bay to paint it. I must have used 50 to 100 of those little sanding discs. I ended up using Pour 15 seam sealer along all the edges, and then I Pour 15'd the entire engine bay. That really sucked because I had to paint the whole thing on with a foam brush just to make sure there wasn't like drips and runs and stuff like that. But it ended up turning out very well. I was very impressed. So with that stuff sitting and curing, I decided to take care of a few known RB oil issues. So I got the rear head drain, put in a Tomei oil restrictor in the block, and then put the head back together and started reassembling the block. Also took some parts over to my buddy to have powder coated. We did a ton of miscellaneous little parts, valve covers, cam covers, the actual cam angle sensor bracket, timing covers. With that stuff done, I started putting everything back together. We did a few modifications to the oil and cooling system so I could run an external oil cooler. You can see there I got a sandwich plate to run both a external oil filter and oil cooler, so that was a pretty cool setup. Then I ended up painting the engine bay like a metallic black color. It's actually from, I believe, a CTSV. So it actually turned out really, really nice for painting it in a garage. While waiting for that to dry, I test fit everything back up on the engine again and made all my AN lines for everything and hooked up the whole fuel system and made sure all those lines were gonna be long enough. Bolted up the clutch and got ready for it to go back in. outfit up and running. I painted the hood. I got plans for finishing up the CTSV brake conversion. I got a carbon fiber hatch. Not sure if I'm going to go Lexan or glass yet, but that pretty much sums it up. If you guys liked this video, please comment and subscribe. This is my first video, so please take it easy on me. We do have more to come. There's a couple of our other buddies that we want to do videos on. Those cars include IS300, 135i, 93 Supra, and a Genesis. So please stay tuned, and thanks for watching.